And you want to start out with some warm milk, about a half a cup. So here's a half a cup of milk, and you want to heat that to about 110, 115 degrees. And now we want to proof some yeast. And proofing means we want to add the dry yeast, and this is 1 package of active dry yeast. We want to add that to the milk and just stir that around until it's dissolved. So once the yeast is proofed in the milk, you want to let it sit around for 3 or 4 minutes or so. Then you can put it into your mixer, or if you want to do this by hand, you can do that as well. So there is our yeast and milk mixture. And now we want to add some eggs. Now make sure that your eggs are at room temperature. You don't want to put these in cold. And if you forget and just take the eggs out of the refrigerator and you want to make this, well then I suggest that you sit the eggs in a bowl of warm water to warm them up a little bit. So we want 3 eggs. And then we need some butter and sugar. So 4 tablespoons of softened butter. And this is unsalted butter. So we're going to add that. Goes in. And 1/4 cup of sugar. So there's my sugar. That goes in. So you basically want to put the wet ingredients together first before you start adding the dry ingredients. And a teaspoon of salt for flavor and for color. You need about 3 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour for this, but you know what? Put it in slowly because you do not know whether or not your wet mixture is going to take all of that flour, so you don't want to add it all at once. So let's put, 3/4 of it in and see where we are. So we want to create a dough here that is moist, but not too wet. So slowly. And you'll know that the ball of dough is at the right consistency when it hangs around the paddle or when it no longer sticks to your hand. Put a little bit more in and continue. Okay, that's starting to look a little better. Let me just check it. And I think I can take that out because what additional flour I need to add, I can add on my board. So once you have your dough, then you want to knead it. And you want a nice soft dough, and this is always a great tool to have in the kitchen, a bench knife. So you knead, for about 5 minutes or so. And if the dough is a little tacky, well then you gingerly add a little extra flour to the board and continue kneading so until it's no longer sticking to your hands. And then after you have it into a nice looking ball, then you want to put that into a bowl because we have to allow this now to rise until it's almost doubled in size. So you put it in a bowl and then cover it with a piece of plastic wrap. And now a lot of people make the mistake of trying to hurry this process along, so then they put it in the oven, turn the oven on because they want the heat to help rise the dough. But I'm telling you that that's the worst thing you can do because it'll cook the bottom of the dough and then you'll really have a mess. It's more important that you put it off into a place that's about 75 degrees in your kitchen, and you'll know that again by using an instant read thermometer. And this has been rising, about 2 hours. Take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And now we want to really disperse those yeast cells throughout the dough, so we do the knockdown. This is called a knockdown. Punch down the dough, and you see how beautiful and silky this dough is. And now you want to knead it again. You see now it really isn't sticking to the board. You want to knead that, for about 5 minutes or so to get that gluten really well worked. I'm going to divide it in half. So we're going to roll this out, and now what we're going to do is make a fruit pizza. I think this is kind of nifty. It's kind of a fantasia di Marianna, alla Marianna. Because there's so many things you can do with a sweetened dough. So you roll this out as if you're making a pizza. But if you want to make a second pan of rolls, you can do that as well. So I want this rather flat. And then I have a pizza pan ready. I like to use use a perforated pizza pan, or you could use this dough in a pan, a round pan that goes in the oven, another cake pan, whatever is your fancy. So here is a perforated pizza pan. See, it has holes on either side, and that helps to allow air and heat to cook this evenly. And then you can stretch the dough out onto the pan. I just think this is a great conversation piece for dinner. If you get a little hole, you just patch. And you want kind of like a little ridge around the outside to kind of hold those fruits in place. Okay, maybe she'll put this on the menu. All right, here we have the fruits, and all I did was cook these down in some orange juice and a little bit of sugar. And look at how beautiful they look. And now it's a matter of building. You can put a little bit of sugar first on the dough if you want to. You can do that afterwards. And then you take these fruits and you just place them on the dough. I think this makes a great dessert. You could serve this with ice cream. I like it with mascarpone cheese. And we're going to cook this one at 375 degrees as well. I just think these fruits look like jewels. Look at how beautiful they're glistening. And that was just a little bit of orange juice, fresh orange juice, and sugar. And we just cooked them down until they were soft. I didn't want them mushy. I wanted them to hold their shape. And I like to use a variety for color. And I think you could say that this is extremely colorful. Okay, so now you let that rise, again, for about, 30 minutes or so. And when it's risen, it will look like that. Isn't that beautiful? Your oven is on at 375 degrees. You're going to cook this for about 20 minutes or so.